Welcome to another commentary done by Diggity on behalf of StarCastTV. Upper right hand corner, we've got JYJ starting as the red Terran. Bottom left hand corner, we have Soma starting as the yellow Zerg. Should be an interesting one, as JYJ is an extremely aggressive player. By the way, Artosis did some coverage of an amazing recent post where they did analysis of nearly 3,000 games from the ASL era, and the charting and everything, it's fantastic. I highly recommend it. I would love to see it player by player, actually. And I'm wondering if that sort of analysis has been done. I could see that being very valuable for preparation in tournaments, like seeing that Soma maybe loses games at the midpoint, or like at some point if he messes up his early game defenses or something along those lines. Anyway, Soma's been struggling lately, primarily because for whatever reason, the Terran meta has shifted to definitely the 2-rack style, but not just the 2-rack style, extreme aggression in the early game. Off-tempo aggression, all-in aggression, all sorts of aggression in the first 15 minutes, which has made it really hard on Zerg, especially in the early mid-game. As a result, the more... I was actually making this argument. Some people were actually basically like, oh, Jaedong's done, or whatever, and I'm like, I don't know that Jaedong's doing all that poorly in general. I think they're like, why isn't he beating every single Zerg? And I'm like, well... First of all, he's not playing against general Pro League players anymore. So there's that factor. Secondarily, I mean, it's not like you just have a whole bunch of people that he's playing against on top of MSL, OSL at the lower brackets. This is like round of 24 up where he's going in these matches. So I feel like it's a smaller containment grouping. But secondarily, I feel like his versus Terran is really what's been struggling overall. Maybe I'm incorrect on that overall in my visage. I would love to hear you guys' opinions on Jaedong. But let's get to the game at hand. Looks like we are seeing a 12 hatch opener. But I guess what I wanted to get at is, I feel like the more defensive Zergs, explicitly Queen, Soma, Jaedong, have been suffering, I feel like, against Terran in particular, in this recent era. And I'm hoping to see a shift around back towards their advantage. We'll have to see if that is in fact the case. I'm wondering if this is going to turn into 1-rack's expansion without even a Marine to start, as JYJ is, positioning to do that. We'll see if he seals off that front door and goes for something sneaky. One thing on Eclipse that I've seen JYJ do a multitude of times is, even off the early expansion, do crazy things like mech, Wraith, everything. He's got infinite build orders that he can execute, and it's trouble. It's trouble for any of his opponents, let alone Soma. Meantime, Drone trying to soften up that SCV. JYJ is going to go ahead and see that tech to layer off that 150 gas, which suggests we are going to see Mutalisks to start rather than any other aspect of play, lurkers, etc. Although it is possible to back up and do some sort of lurker build past that. Refinery tacked on, second barracks on the way. We'll see if this turns into a standard 2 barracks play from here, but again, JYJ can execute nearly anything. 2 Zerglings making their way out in the field, and the Overlord going to cozy its way up to make sure that that barracks is glowing this entire time. I think this will be, gonna pattern. When you see that barracks remaining fallow, just wanted to throw that word in this time, fallow, because it's a fun word. Whenever you see that barracks not lit up, it should send off alarm bells. Although I've seen some incredible cheese, speaking of the aggressive Terran era, some incredible cheeses, I guess not really cheeses, just alternate build orders, where they leave this front barracks building and transition to Valkyrie mech hybrid action. But we do have the Academy this time, so it looks like it's probably going to be that 2 barracks pressure to start. Spire is in fact constructing in Soma's base. Soma is masterful at the early game defensive style. JYJ trying to confirm the 3rd hatch relocation with the initial SCV. That drone moving out right this second. The SCV should spot it, and that might give us indication that JYJ, with his initial pressure off the 2 racks, he's gathering most of the Marines to the north, so Soma's able to see that barracks glowing, but he's not able to see the full complement of Marines on the move out, and there's Overlord's mostly out of position to see this. So Overlord's out, Soma gonna move that Overlord back. He's got a pretty good idea of the timing, but this is well before Spire's finished, and with these 2 medics in tow, we'll see how far JYJ decides to dedicate. Sometimes, unlike most Terran, will just try to occupy this territory, get a little bit of movement right there. SCV blockading the ramp Some additional Marines going to deal with the Zerglings, although the Zerglings are speed upgraded. Not nice little bit of micro to step that Marine behind to keep it alive. Currently, JYJ going for a southerly route. I'm not sure that that Overlord spotted the edge of any of this. A comsat dropping. There are 2 sunken colonies being built on the front, so that should be plenty of defense there, but that 9 o'clock still very, very exposed. So JYJ snaking all the way around, and again, that early SCV spot of the drone lets him know that this base is here. We got the 5 mules building, and this is well before, and this is what JYJ's done time and time again off this build, and why it's been so punishing to Zerg at this stage. Gonna force a cancellation, or might even get a hatchery kill. There's the cancellation, so that delays the 3rd hatchery and subsequently that 3rd gas greatly. On top of that, having these Marines out in the field forces these Mutalisks to engage, and you can delay the turrets a little bit. You can see, although the turret's not massively delayed, but you can also keep the turrets a little bit lighter overall. So now the 5 Mutalisks out, and JYJ slow walking his way back, wanting to make sure he doesn't get completely gobbled up. But taking down that hatchery, even if he loses the entirety of this army, I think he'd be able to sneak out the medics regardless. Even if he loses all of it, it's definitely worth the hatchery. So out, Mutalisks being peeled off as it was severely damaged already. It looks like that army is in fact cleaned up. The medic's going to get taken out as well. So a degree of map control here, but that hatchery being replanted on a great delay. And with all of that early damage, that forces Soma into a position where he does need to play aggressive, maybe get some SCV kills. He's got 8 Mutalisks already. Third barracks up. Factory being planted way before the 7-minute mark by a good 15 seconds, which is going to mean more rapid science vessels, which means Soma's opportunity to utilize these Mutalisks might be even smaller, able to get a nice Marine pick or SCV pick off to delay that additional turret from constructing, but again, gonna have to trail off another Mutalisk, which means another Mutalisk needs to either take its place. We do have +1 weapons, or just a lot more Mules need to come along the way. Some Zerglings testing the front door. The Medic Marines actually moving pretty deep forward in territory as +1 weapons is not yet finished. +1 weapons almost finished for Soma, but that's going to match pretty closely to the timing on the opposite end of the field. We do have the Queen's Nest down and that Hive started. Hydro is done with Lurker Tech upgrading, but Soma's got, so what, a handful of Marines and 2 medics thus far? That's all he's managed to do to JYJ. Ooh, gonna get, as I say that, gets 2 additional Marines for free right there. Decent spread. JYJ is happy to go and engage the Mutalisks at this forward position, not on his SCV line. More Marines starting to filter in, and look at this double starport already. Do we have the science facility out? +1 weapons just about to finish. Where's the science facility? Is this going to be delayed and drop the control tower? So lifting, there we go. There's a science facility. Not sure I was so excited about that, but I was. JYJ with a very comfortable worker lead. He's just on fantastic pace here. 3rd gas is up for Soma. Hive is going to finish, but again, like JYJ's position, because this was a big investment in Mutalisks. That's 10 Mutalisks in the mid-game now. And JYJ has a fantastic economy. He was able to take down that hatchery early. And as soon as these science vessels start pumping, these 10 Mutalisks that have done very, very little are not going to be completely nullified, but they're going to have to start dodging some irradiates. We do have some lurkers that have morphed out on the field. Let's see if they can get in defensive position. That's a good amount of lurkers right there. 5 and a 6 to follow. What I have seen some Zerg players do to great effect is this right here, getting lurkers in their opponent's face and using the Mutalisks abusively with the lurker lines to hold kind of a soft contain against Terran. Like this. Lost the forward lurker, so bit of mispositioning right there, but when it's done perfectly with some just beautiful micro, you can do that. Abuse the line, go up, pick off some Marines, and draw them back to the lurkers. And this buys a lot of time to get that consume up, pins JYJ back, and thins out the Marine numbers with a good amount of map control. But it's a very tight micro window to pull this off. You have to dance just so. Science vessels now out on the field. Irradiate, not quite there yet. Another Mutalisk getting pushed off. The other problem with this, though, is you really do need to kill a good amount of Medic Marines with it because you are offering up some early game units. However, if you can hold, the also follow-up advantage is you have position already to drop Darkswarm on your opponent in very rapid fashion. So Radiate just about to finish. The Zergling's right here. Soma hoping to finish this out. Consume is finished. So now, if you can just get a few more moments, he actually dropped 2 Radiates on the Lurkers just to make sure the numbers don't grow too large in front of his base, but he's pretty well boxed in. If Soma can just get a little bit of movement here, actually going up and getting some good damage on the Science Vessels. There's the first Darkswarm, another 2 Darkswarms, and this might be game. JYJ panicking a little bit, trying to move to the northern edge. Soma dropping additional Darkswarm, completely boxing JYJ in. And now with another, we still got a good amount of Lurkers out in the front, and the Defiler's pressing in. More Defile right on the edge here. Turrets taking damage. The Science Vessels are there, but they don't have the energy to stop this. Emergency Fire Bats out, but Soma able to breach the natural expansion now. And now things looking dire for JYJ after a fantastic start. Lurkers impaling the natural expansion. Continuing to press in. Darkswarm on the ramp, almost on the barracks line. More units pressing forward. The Science Vessels still in decent number overhead, but they just don't have enough energy to finish this out. More Darkswarm over the barracks line, and it looks like this is over. Despite losing that hatchery early, Soma able to get aggressive and finish it up off the follow-up. Now Lurkers right on top of the Marines and Firebats as they're spawning. We still have a few Science Vessels overhead, but it does not look like it's sufficient. There's actually Defiler numbers to match the Science Vessel numbers in the main, and Mutalisks attacking those Science Vessels steadily as well. 2 barracks lifted off. JYJ trying to make something out of it. Continually getting pinned back. Another Science Vessel goes down. Another Darkswarm drops. A slew of Firebats moving in to try to clear from all angles, to try to clear the Lurkers. It looks like they've managed to get all but one, but there's still additional backup Lurkers making their way in. And I think that might have been JYJ's last stand. The Lurkers feeling powerful enough where they're just going to walk straight into the final SCV line for JYJ. And JYJ refusing to GG this. Maybe a bit flabbergasted with everything that's transpired there. Exiting the game. Great comeback from Soma. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, I like seeing it. Some of that nice, brutal new style. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.